Oh, hey guys, welcome to my channel, welcome to the stream, and welcome to another chapter working on that guy there. That's our 1967 Shelby GT350 by AMT. So, yeah, we'll get the intro rolling and we'll get started right away, okay? Okay guys, well we're back, and as you can see, I'm still working on my rear end. Okay, still working on it. So last time, you guys know, went through this whole process of getting my little 4 links all put on there and working on that, and messing around with the engine, shortening the axles on this thing to fit our big tires on the back, all that stuff. Today I want to get this 4-link mounted in there and be done with it. Okay, I want to be done with it, but the next step I need to do is I'm going to mount the actual engine in first. If we look at our instructions, after putting this engine together, putting our front suspension in, which is already there, next was of course the rear suspension and all that good stuff, which of course, well, we dealt with last time, pretty much most of it. The next step they want us to do is actually put the engine in. Okay, so I'm going to put the engine in now so that I'll be able to actually get the rear end and the drive shaft in there, get it sitting exactly where it needs to be, and then I can glue it in and leave it. Okay, you guys saw how much I fought with the engine and everything last time just to determine the distance of the drive shaft and all that stuff. Well, today we're going to actually glue the engine in. We're going to get the engine in, and it basically just mounts. We've got the 2 engine mounts there, and then we've got the transmission mount, and that's where it's going to glue in. Okay, just like that. Okay, I've decided this is where it's going to go, and I'm going to put the engine in before I actually do the wiring for the distributor. That might kick me in the butt later, I don't know. I can honestly say I've never wired the engine after installing it. I've always done the wiring before, but yeah, really, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I'm going to put some glue on my mounts and we'll get this guy installed. Alright, so 2 mounts here plus transmission mount. I'll just put some glue on the transmission itself as it goes and slides in underneath there. I'll change the camera so you can watch me as I do this. Alright, so grab some glue. I might wind up using some different glues and stuff like that, but we will see how this does. There's some glue on both of our mounts, and then it's back in there, pull that back out with some glue right on there. So that's where the transmission mount sits, and we'll put her in her place. Just like that. I want to make sure she's centered and she's straight as she sits in her new home. I don't want her cockeyed or anything like that. It does want to sit a little bit cockeyed and a little bit crooked, just a hair. It's kind of just a little bit off, but it's not bad. That's the nature of customizing stuff, right? But that's not bad. Okay, so she's in. I don't want to set it down. The oil pan sump sits just a little bit lower than the frame, so I'm going to sit it down on a wheel like that so we can let that sit. Another thing I could do is I could tape it down. I don't really want to do that, but as I'm working on the rear end to get it fitted, it might be necessary to actually tape the engine in, so maybe I will do that. I'll run a piece of tape kind of across like this and across like that, and hopefully we'll get it kind of situated where it needs to be. So let's just do this, put some tape under there, and run this over like that. Bring it down. A little bit tight, but not too much. Okay, that should help keep her in place. And I'll do another one across this way. It's kind of like that. And that should hold it. Doesn't really want to move anywhere, so that's a good sign. Okay, there we go. So now I can set that down, and it should stay put. There we go. Okay, I feel good about that. Now this rear end, this guy, these little rods here, they've been a pain in my neck trying to get these things all lined up in there, all nice and yeah, it's not really been very much fun, but that is how it goes. Sometimes this glue is not going to be any use to me anymore. Getting my little arms all lined up into their 4 little holes and getting the rear end exactly where it actually needs to be and sitting straight and all that fun stuff has been a challenge and a bit. Getting all these little rods lined up in there has not been the easiest thing. You guys might notice that since last time my frame is all black now back here instead of white. I literally just painted it about half an hour ago. This rod I had to make a new one because I had cut it too short, and so I made a nice long one on here, and of course now it's too long, but that's okay. I want to get it right at that level, and then I'm going to trim it. So this is the angle it's going to be. I want to trim that to be the same. We're very close to that. There we go. Okay. Get that side in, but what about this side? Still too long. I'm gonna have to mark where I need to cut it, because once I pull it out of there I can't really see it. I need to cut it right about here. Sorry, I know my head's in the way, but I need to see that. Okay, let's trim this again. Just a hair. That's all I need. There. Now I can get that down in there. Once I get this lined up and all 4 of my little rods are touching, Kinda just like that. Alright, so they're all in their spots. So now I just need to get some CA glue in there, which I already have in my little dish here. Put a nice little generous amount on there so they're nice and strong. And I'm going to use some accelerant on them. Put this aside. I don't like spraying this stuff because it just kind of gets everywhere. So I prefer to just let a drop come off of there. It's a little more precise, goes only where I want it. It helps out. Okay, now I'm actually going to glue the drive shaft in. So the drive shaft can get some glue there. It can be glued to the transmission. And we'll have a complete unit. Now this, where the diff is sitting, if I show you this, the way it's sitting right now, it's not exactly straight. It's not straight across this way. It's kind of crooked a little bit. It's a little cockeyed. Well, the nice thing about these pins is I can bend it down. I can press it to bend them and stuff like that exactly where they need to be. I just need to let this glue dry, even though it is crazy glue and it's supposed to dry. My particular crazy glue or CA glue, you know, it's insecure. This is supposed to be super thin, but as you can tell, it's thick because it's old and it's been exposed to oxygen quite a bit. And so, yeah. That's just the way it goes. So what I'm going to do with my engine is I'm just going to make sure that it is as straight as I can get it, and it is somewhat level across here. It looks pretty good. It's looking pretty good. It does seem to be a little bit crooked like this, which I can't really do very much about. Could do that. Move it a little bit. That seems to have been an okay move to do, but that also means I've moved it in here in the transmission, and so that glue might not hold anymore. So what I'm going to do, if I can get my glue in there, get my thin, I think I can actually get down in there with it and give her another little dab of glue. Just like that. And that should help hold it. And on my engine mounts there, on that side. And this side's going to be hard to get at because it's kind of in between my steering linkage. I don't know if I actually got it on there or not, but I definitely got glue all over my steering linkage. But again, that's okay. That doesn't matter. So there we go. So now all I've got to do is just touch up the black on that, on my suspension, and I've got to put my rear shocks on. So the rear shocks, that's these two that I made the coil springs for. It's this one and this one. Okay, we're going to do those. Those are going to go, we've got two holes here. You'll see the holes right here and here. That's where they mount. Okay, let's take a look at the instructions and see how they're supposed to mount. So we've got two arms that are basically the bottom, the body of the shocks. Those go towards the chassis, and then the actual, you know, in my line of work we call them rams. That's the inner tube part of the shock. So that means the fatter end goes down towards the body. So let's see how we can get these to fit now that we've got a much narrower rear end. If they'll even fit at all. That of course might be something I can't even do. Or I might have to just make up the locations and put them at the back here. Because these are now, they look considerably longer. Let's try and fit that in its location. If I get that in there, because I don't have a lot of room here to mount it. In fact, there's so much, it's so tight now, this won't fit there at all. So I'm thinking maybe I'll just mount it on the back side. I can snip the peg off and maybe snip that peg off too. Or maybe not. I could do this. If I shorten it, I could get it to line up there. If I shorten the shock. That's an idea. That's a pretty good idea. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to have to maybe just trim it right there. Let's try that. Trim that off right where the spring is. Just like that. That was easy. I hardly even put any pressure on my nippers. Let's see what their height is like. It's still pretty tall. But the way I have the shock now, I can do this. I could put the shock like that, and I could put a little strip of styrene or something like this over the top, and it'll look like it's an actual mounting bracket. That might work. That will work perfectly. So I'll glue the shock in place. Put some glue on the bottom of it here. Put it down in its little home in the corner here. Come on. Really? That's your new home. Stay there. Just like that. All right, let's grab the other one. Do the same thing with this one. Trim this off. Check our height. It's about the same. Pretty close. What I really should do is make sure they are both the same, because my rear end is crooked, right? Remember I mentioned that earlier. My rear end is a little crooked. I need to adjust my rear end here. Actually, I'm going to take this off before the glue sets. Let's get my rear end straight, because my tires are going to go on like this. And like this. And I definitely want them straight. Now, so if I look at this and how they're going to sit, I'm just going to grab a ruler here. And just by eyeballing it, this side is sitting below the cars. It looks like the frame's twisted a little bit. but I should be able to do that a little bit more. Let's take the tires off and give her a little twist. It's kind of funny because when I just look at the rear end, it looks like the rear end, if I do this, I'll show you guys. The rear end looks like it's sitting, this side is high and this side's low. But I think because of the bend in this axle here, I think the tire is actually sitting the opposite of what it looks like. It's negligible, but when I do it, I don't know, if I sit this down, it doesn't really look that bad. I'll show you guys here. To do that, it's pretty close, with it right at the bottom of each tire. I got it actually pretty close. I think, you know what, that's good enough. I'm not going to fart around with it. All I'm going to do is take these off. You know, I'm kind of doing this for no reason. I'm just going to do my shocks the same height. Let's trim this one off. The same height. Like that. Glue them in. Dab of glue on the bottom of that one. I want you to go right up against like that. There we go. And then this guy. In similar fashion. Just like that. Come back to the corner. There we go. We have our coil springs. Not super realistic, but good enough. So what I'm going to do is I'll cut a couple of these. Let's go like this. I think that should be good. That can represent a shock mount. Turn off my air compressor. And I'll cut another one. Sure, looks good. Okay. Put some glue on here. There. One shock mount. Glue in there. This guy's a little too, he's pretty thin, but that's okay. And another shock mount. And there we go, we've got shock mounts, just like that. Okay, and our shocks are in. Just like that. And I'm happy with that. That looks good enough for me. Good enough for me, yes. I'm happy with that. Okay, done. So, gonna let that sit. I wanted to show you guys something else that came in the box with this. I was really surprised and I was kind of really weirded out by it. So, in the box at the bottom of this kit had this piece of cardboard. And I looked at the cardboard, and the cardboard was literally a cardboard cutout for you to cut this design out and make your own version of the box. right here. This is literally the box that this comes in. It's even got the pictures of the engine and everything on the side, just like that. It's actually two. Here, now it's upside down. Here, there you go. It's the actual same thing, right? It's really cute and also weird that they would do that. I guess it's so that you can have some kind of a small memorabilia of the box that it came in. I don't know. I thought it'd be cool just to cut it out and glue it together, and so I did, and there we go. Yeah, that's different. It's different. I'll give it that. It's different. Okay, so with this all done, I have to paint all these, my little white brackets that are on the rear end. But with it all just freshly glued, I don't want to really risk doing anything with it. Okay, so we're going to leave that like that, and then we are going to work on to the next step. The next step in the instructions is interior, sort of. Looks like we got the firewall. I'll change the camera back here because now I'm done rambling. Seat buckets, brake booster and master cylinder, okay, and firewall. So firewall is going to go in. We can do that. Well, we got to do the brake booster. The brake booster's black, so I don't have to worry about that. This kit is molded in black after all. So let's just grab these. Excuse me. If you notice me sniffling a lot, it's because I'm still kind of getting over a cold that really kind of just attacked my sinuses. Other than that, I felt fine. Okay, so we need 46 and 47 and 48. So that's bing, bang, and bong right there, those three pieces. And yes, bing, bang, and bong, those are technical words. There we go. And then we need our firewall, number 45, which is on this tree, I believe. 45, this big guy here. That big guy there. And we need our seats. Need our bucket seats. I don't think it really matters which one we do. I think they're the same number. These are both number 40s. These are both 41s. So before we get to disturbing my freshly glued in engine, we'll put these pieces together. There we go. Okay. Let's see if I got to do nub cleanup before I assemble these. Our seat halves just go together. It's not a perfect fit. Look at that gap. Let me get this out of the way. Look at that gap in here. Gap at the top of the seat. That is not the best fit, is it? And their nubs don't look very nice either. I think what it is there's some, the molding is really rough on this inside channel right here. That could use a real cleanup. The molding is not that precise, and that's typical. You know, I hate to say it, I really do harp on these guys a lot, but I really do wish that Tamiya made American muscle cars. I wish Tamiya would get into the American muscle car game. I really do. this kind of is like, because Tamiya has such awesome fit for everything, and their molds are precise and crisp. You know, I wish AMT and Revell would just step up their game a little bit. Because there's, you know, Tamiya makes Japanese cars, European cars, all kinds of things. They make these weird cars that you never see over here in the West. And yet they don't do any American cars. They don't make no, well, I guess they do like the Ford GTs, you know, you've got supercars, but they don't do anything normal. I say normal, but you know what I mean? Like, there's just deathly silent. I'm gonna have to glue this, and then later on, once this glue is cured on the bottom, I'll have to grab I'll grab some these things and pinch it up here and then glue it later. So I'll just have to do it bit by bit. The bottom's glued now, so I'll have to leave that. A little more down here, just to make sure. A little down here. And we'll let that do its thing like that. Okay, there's one. Let's see this one. It's just not the nicest mold. I don't know how long AMT has had these molds. When they first originally made this kit, I don't know. I'm gonna guess it's in the 80s. This might be a retooling. I really don't know. It's definitely more modern. There was some, what they did, you know, a lot of times you'll see stamped into the chassis or the frame or something like that under here, you'll see their name and the copyright year. There was some white writing on the inside of the roof here that obviously I've sanded down and painted away, but there was something in there that so I don't know I don't remember what it said, so I don't know the copyright year of this, and it might say in the instruction manual, but I doubt it. So they got all this rough molding right here too. Clean that away. This one sits a little bit better than the other one did. It's actually hard to see the seam here at the top at all until I press down. And oh yeah, now that I press it together, it really separates. So this seat is not any better. There's a big gap there. If I get that in the right light here, you might be able to see that gap in the top there. It's just doesn't really want to focus, does it? Right there at the top, you see that gap. So yeah, right there. Yeah. So I'll have to do the same thing with this seat, just let that dry, and then I'll clamp it down. In the meantime, we have our little brake booster. It's supposed to go in. So we have this is supposed to face forward. Okay. And this one is going to go against the firewall, but we're two halves, so I'm going to make sure. There's a little notch here, so this obviously is supposed to only go in one certain way, line up our little notches. It should go in place. But I think we've got a lot of interference. Just in similar fashion to the seat, this little guy has a little channel that's supposed to go in here, but this is so dirty and messy in here. There's no way it would go in. So we gotta clean all this out. Except of course the one tab that's supposed to guide it and align it up. Terrible. There's no way that would go together. Ain't no way. Sure, you could slather a bunch of glue in it and let the glue dissolve the plastic enough that you could squeeze them together. Yeah, that's a possibility. That actually might be my dinner showing up. Okay, let's see if I clean that up enough for these two to go together. Line up our tab. Yeah, they'll squeeze together now. Some glue in there. Give them a good squeeze. There we go. And I'm going to do this. Well, it doesn't really do much, does it? No. Didn't really do much. Let's try another one. I have another one. I got lots of these little clips. There. That'll hold it for a sec. Giving us pressure so I don't kill my fingers. While I look at our little tiny master cylinder. I've often thought I'd like to actually wire the brake lines on one of these things. Just to have brake lines. I've never done a car with brake lines. Yeah, really, I've never done a car with brake lines. And I want to give it a try. You know, I have different sized solder that I could use. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to do a little research. What side of the master cylinder do the brake lines come out of? Do they come out of this side or do they come out of the driver's side? Maybe there's one and one? I don't know. I know there's two, or at least there's one that goes into two. No, there's going to be two, because you've got a primary and a secondary cylinder for your front and your rear, right? And that's how these things work, is you've got your two reservoirs in there, one for the front and one for the rear. And then you've got two lines that come out from the side. I don't think that's going to be too hard to drill out a couple of holes and do brake lines. Let me move my chassis out of the way here. So I'm going to do a pilot hole right here. Right there. Okay, I'm going to get ready to drill a hole right there. Okay, and I'll use this drill bit. Actually, I want to go a little smaller. Brake lines are pretty small, right? So I'm going to use one of my smaller bits out of my little thing here. So I do have smaller, where's my tool? I do have smaller solder than what I used for like even smaller than my spark plug wires. I have even smaller stuff than that, and it's solder, so I'm gonna do a pilot hole that's this small. I might have to go bigger than this one, but this is my starting point. Okay, that nice and tight in there. We'll drill a hole. Got my little pilot, my little one started so that the drill bit won't jump. There we go. If I go all the way through, it won't matter because you're not going to see it. I'm not going to put the line all the way through anyway. So. Not a lot of pressure. You use too much pressure on these little bits. There we go, we're through. Just like that. I didn't even mean to go through. See, it doesn't take that much. It doesn't take that much at all. Now, if I need to go bigger with the hole, I'll do that later. So there's our primary line done. Now I'm going to do my secondary one, and it's going to be just right back here. I think that's, yeah, right there. A little bit of pressure so I can do a little groove. There we go, good. Remember, not too much pressure. You don't want to put so much that you risk breaking your drill bit. There we go. It just went through, I think. Yep. Just like that. Okay. So, I now have two holes. They're not exactly lined up perfectly, but it doesn't really matter because under the hood, all you're going to see is a couple of little lines coming off of there, and that's all it is. So, that means I need to do some research. Okay. I need to do some research on brake lines on these cars to see how they're routed, and how, you know, when the brake line's coming out of the master cylinder, how does it look? You know what I mean? Because sometimes, you know, you pop the hood of a car and you see the brake lines under there. Sometimes the brake line will be coming out of the master cylinder and doing these little loopy things before it goes down. And I personally, I don't know about brakes, so I don't know why they do that. I don't know why they put the little loopy loops in brake lines on cars when it comes to master cylinders and stuff like that. Coming out of the master cylinder, I really don't know why. So if one of you guys knows, tell me why. Is it because it's trying to reduce air in the lines? Or is it to allow some flexibility in the lines? I'd like to know why. Why do they do that? Tell me why. Yeah. Tell me why do they do that. Okay, so we can, now that I've drilled my holes, we can install this. Flat side going to the flat side, and it's going to go in like that. But I want to clean up the front of this a little bit. Because we've got mold seam that just looks weird. And to be honest, it will be easier to paint this before I put it on there, but let's just do a little test of my painting skills by mounting it and painting it after it's on. And in reality, mounting it on there will allow me to actually hold on to something while I'm painting it. So flat side in, there we go. There we go. So our master cylinder is mounted to our brake booster, just like this. Okay, and we do have a couple of holes in there, although I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. You might be able to see the holes if I get in the right light. But yeah, we'll deal with that later on. Okay. So, that is that. And of course, firewall. I think my glue's probably cured enough here on our engine that I could remove the tape. Took a little bit of chrome off my valve cover. Sticky tape. Okay, our firewall, this guy here, I really should paint the carpet on this, because I've painted the carpet on here nice flat black, so we got no gloss at all, right? No shine. So I should do the same treatment here, just for continuity's sake. So let's just do this. I painted it with Mr. Surfacer 1500 black. So let me just do this. Paint this along here. It's probably an area that's not really going to be seen very easily, but in the event that you can see it when you peek in the window of the car, I want to have continuity, right? So in theory that's going to dry just as flat black as the rest of the carpet. I don't often use a brush with my Mr. Surfacer paint. It's usually coming out of my airbrush. So this, they just showed it just kind of sitting down on there, lining up right behind these two little channels right here and here. Okay, there and there. And then these two arms or bars going out on the frame. Can you stop dropping it? I don't know, I'll try to stop dropping it. So, just sitting like this. Just like that. Okay. It seems simple enough, but if I want to add any detailing to the actual engine side, it's going to be near impossible. You know, things like wiring, maybe the hose going from the windshield wiper over to the washer fluid bottle. Is there even one? I don't know. Is that a detail they put in here? Is there even a washer fluid bottle that we install under the hood? Well, we put a battery in and an upper rad hose. A battery and an upper rad hose. And that's it. So as far as detail under the hood, that's all we do literally, is a battery and an upper rad hose. Okay, well, we're gonna wait because putting on the brake booster after it's mounted is going to be a little bit tight because of where it's located. It locates kind of behind the cylinder head here behind the valve cover, and like literally right in that spot there. So that's going to be a little bit tricky to put that in once this is in already. If I take this and try and, in fact, that would be absolutely impossible to put in afterwards. Which tells me I better actually check the fitment. That's going to be really tight. I'm going to put that on here. That is so close on there. I mean, it'll fit, but it's going to be right up against that head. It's going to be right up against the engine there. That is a close, tight fit. Right there. Right up against there. That is tight. So yeah, definitely I'm going to be putting the booster on the firewall first before mounting it. And I already just lining that up and thinking, okay, where am I going to run the brake lines? I'm going to run them out of here, and I'm going to run them down this channel, and then kind of hide them down in the frame. I'll loop them down, and I'll run them down there, and that's what I'll do with my brake lines. Okay, but that's going to be next time. For now, I think this is cured enough. I can probably put a clamp on the seat. I'll put this on here like this, and that should hold it. So I can glue the rest of it together. Okay, there's one. Let's do that. And grab another one. Doesn't really matter what clamp I use. That'll work. There we go. Okay, we'll let those glue. And I think, guys, that's going to be it for today. What I'm going to do off camera, I'm going to decide my brake lines and what I'm going to do with those. I'm going to do some research, and I'm going to do the detailing on the interior panels, like the window crank and the door opener. Going to do that. Looks like this car comes with a little bit of a roll bar. That's kind of neat. Yeah. So I'll do some of the detail stuff that I need to do on the interior. I'll do that off camera so that next time we can just concentrate on putting this stuff together. Okay? So, yeah, I'll do some detailing, just little painting things. I'll do that off camera, and so that next time we'll just focus on getting the rest of the interior assembled on this guy. Alright? So, that's going to be it for now, guys. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for all the support. Thank you, guys. I saw some new comments. I'll reply to those later. So, yeah, that's going to be it, guys. I want to thank you again. Thank you for the support, and thank you for the comments. And I've heard from you guys about my collaboration with my fiance. So thanks, guys. That's really cool. Again, thank you, and we'll see you all in the next one.